This is question 5 on page 2, and I would first factor out a negative 1. Rewrite this. Negative 1 times positive 5x squared minus 13x plus 6. That's going to make the rest of the work easier, and we'll put the negative 1 back at the end. AC method here, right? 5 times 6 is 30. And if we use a negative 10 and a negative 3, those will add up to negative 13 and multiply out to positive 30. So coming up here, hanging on to that negative 1, I'm going to rewrite this expression as 5x squared minus 10x minus 3x instead of the minus 13x plus 6. Now looking at this first group of 2 factors, common factor would be 5x. I'd have 5x times x minus 2. And a common factor here could be a minus 3 times x minus 2 because we want a plus 6, right? And then we're about ready to write our answer. I could say negative 1 times x minus 2 times 5x minus 3. And you could leave it like that, or you could just say negative 1 times that first parentheses would just reverse the direction of the subtraction, or use it against this one and reverse the direction of the subtraction. I believe in the answer key, they just put a minus sign out in front, which is equivalent to putting a negative 1. So let's do this. It looks like a difference of cubes until you notice there's a GCF here. You could factor out a 5 and an x to the first power. So let's do that. We factor out 5x. It's going to leave 9x squared minus 16. Right? 5 times 16 is 80. And 5 times 9x squared would be the 45x cubed. Minus 80x, I should have said. And this is the square of 3x minus the square of 4. So this goes quickly. It's difference of squares pattern. 3x minus 4, 3x plus 4. Okay, or put that the plus and make that the minus, doesn't make any difference. Solve this. Doesn't get much friendlier than this. It's already in factored form with the 0 on the other side. So we just think, according to the 0 product property, if this times this equals 0, either this equals 0 or this equals 0. This will equal 0. You can do it in your head maybe, or you can set that factor equal to 0 and solve. Take away 1, divide by 5, and you get teeny tiny minus sign there, sorry. A negative 1/5, and this one of course would just be 8. So negative 1/5 or positive 8. Set that equal to 0, you would get 8. This takes a little more doing. We want to simplify this big rational expression. Well, for the coefficients out in front here, we could divide both numbers by 8, and we would get a 5 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. I see a common factor here, w minus 6, and it's just like anything else of this type. We look for the higher power of the variable. That's where you're going to, the higher power of the expression or variable, and that's where you're going to keep it. So we'll keep a w6 up on top, and the new exponent will be 5 take away 4 is 1. So I'm going to keep the parentheses though. Otherwise things will get confused with order of operations being incorrect, or incorrectly written, I should say. And then for the other factor, there's a match there, and that's the first power, fifth power. Fifth power wins. 5, take away the invisible 1. We get 3w plus 2 to the 4th on the bottom. See, now if I would have just written w minus 6 without the parentheses, it would say 5w and then minus 6, when it's really 5w minus 30 if you multiply that out. Anyhow, that's your finished simplified reduced fraction. Okay, and as it says, you can leave it in factored form, so no need to multiply that out. Now for number 9, if we just rush in and multiply this out, we're going to get a gosh awful mess. You want to factor wherever possible first. So for the 14x squared plus x minus 3, if we try factoring that, we could do the AC method. 14 times negative 3, that'll be negative 42. And then we want factors of 42 that add up to, factors of negative 42 that add up to positive 1. Okay. So how about a 7 and a negative 6? Those add up to 1 and multiply out to negative 42. So taking this by itself over here, I'm going to beat up on it up in this space. I'm going to rewrite this 14x squared plus 7x minus 6x minus 3. And the common factor here would be 7x. 7x times x plus 1, and then minus 3 times, I'm sorry, that should be 2x. Minus 3 times 2x plus 1. So the factors are 2x plus 1, 7x minus 3. And then times x minus 2. Look at this denominator, we can factor out the 4. 4 times x minus 2. And this is not so bad, there's difference of squares, so that's 7x minus 3. 7x plus 3. Kind of sloppy work here, sorry, but these are perilous times. Here's a match we can cancel. Here's a match we can cancel. So what's left over for the answer? 2x plus 1 over 4 times 7x plus 3. Let me write that a little more compactly and neatly over here. 2x plus 1 over 4 times 7x plus 3. Again, the big picture is you have a rational expression times a rational expression of this heft. You want to factor everything first and look for perfect matches to be able to cancel, and then you get a reduced fraction. Where there's now no way to reduce this. There's nothing that divides evenly into 2 and 1 and 4, or the 7x plus 3. Similarly here, we're not going to just work with this the way it is. We're going to factor first, and of course, as a division statement, we're going to change this to multiply by the reciprocal of that. So let me write over here. This factors x plus 2, x plus 1, and this factors x minus 3, x minus 1. Change that to multiply, and turn this guy upside down, and I'll factor that at the same time, right? 3 times x minus 3. See, there's 3x minus 9. X plus 2. Now what are we looking at? I see a pair of x plus 2s. I see a pair of x minus 3s. And the left behinds are the x plus 1, the 3, and the x minus 1. So my answer, your answer, our answer is 3, x plus 1 on the top, x minus 1 on the bottom. Okay, I'll circle that and circle that. Sorry about the sloppy work today, folks. That's the end of page 2.